All right, welcome to another episode of the Big Blue Report featuring two-time Super Bowl champion and the former defensive captain of the New York Football Giants. That is Jonathan Casillas. With us always, the professor, Big Daddy D, Ryan Darlington, and I am your tour guide, your host from backsportspage.com. My name is Randy Zellea, and thank you guys for making us a part of your Giants offseason. Man, free agency started, and man, away we go. There are some comings, some goings in Big Blue down in East Rutherford. We have some new guys who will be calling the Meadowlands their homes, and we have some guys who decided to take their ball and go elsewhere. And let us start with some of the bigger news for the Giants. We were not here last week. Obviously, Daniel and Saquon are sort of taken care of, for at least for this season. But man, there was a big trade with the Raiders. Darius Slayton got paid, maybe a little bit more than we all expected him to get paid, but he got paid. And there's a lot of other companies that go. JC, let's go back. What did you think about the big trade the Giants made last week to sort of help Daniel have some more targets?
I think that was one of the best moves from any teams out of all free agency. Waller was not a free agent. He had several years left on his contract. This came out of nowhere. And to land a top five, hands down a top five tight end, possibly top three tight end in the NFL, especially when he's healthy right now for Daniel Jones. And we're sitting here talking, you got Daniel Jones, you got Saquon Barkley. Now you need a top receiver. You know, it doesn't have to be that number one receiver type of guy, but they do have a number one receiver now, and that is Darren Waller. I'm not saying they're not going to get a top receiver or a big name guy outside of the draft, possibly in the draft. But what they have done, they provided extra firepower for this offense and Mike Kafka to do their thing and to get some more points on the board offensively.
Yeah, they needed weapons. I mean, at the end of the day, we knew that we needed receiving help. We knew that there wasn't a very clear number one guy that we were just dead set on having. I don't think Shane was willing to be risky and take a guy that he wasn't sure about. And so he did find somebody that could suit that could fit that bill and provide us with another really, really very dangerous offensive weapon in Waller the Baller. I think that's going to be fantastic. You said it right, JC. He's had some injury history, and I think that's what's going to be kind of top of mind when in the concern column. But other than that, if he's healthy and he's good to go, man, we got a hell of a good weapon. And lining him up with Bellinger, having two tight end sets, we're going to be running those all day. And to your point, Randy, with signing up Darius Slayton, I was excited about that because he's our second deep guy now, right? With Paris Campbell and some of the other guys coming in.
It's funny too. You said that yes, he's had injury problems in the past, but when the Giants went out and signed Plaxico Burress years ago, that was the same reputation that he had too. And look what he did before he shot himself in the leg. I'm sorry to say it like that, but
he didn't shoot himself in the
foot. Yeah. I was trying to find out a diplomatic way to say it, but I couldn't really do it. But the Slayton contract. Remember, he took a huge pay cut last year. He got almost, I think, about 1 to 1.2 million for the season. Slayton signed a 2-year, $12 million contract. So you want to talk about a bump, and like I don't, you want to come out and say he earned it. He had one big catch per game. That's what it felt like from my perspective. I don't know how you guys felt about it, but I still think 2 years, 12 million is a lot. Yeah. For him,
5 million guaranteed, damn near.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I guess I'm kind of two minds about this. One part of me says, it's the same thing we were talking about last time with Daniel. Part of the big money is the confidence that we have in Slayton to be a bigger part of our offense, especially now that we know that we have a little bit more of an ability to stretch the field. Slayton becomes a little bit more dangerous, right? And so in a way, I think we are paying him for his potential. I think there is also a little part of it, and this may be totally wrong because it wasn't Shane that put him in the situation to begin with, I don't think. But we owed him a little bit, right? And so, having said that, having gone through what he went through to be on the staff this past year, taking the pay cut, not really feeling like he got his due. This is what made it right. We're paying him for his future performance, and we're also kind of making things right with all things Darius Slayton.
I agree and disagree with that because I don't know if the NFL does IOUs here.
No, you don't think?
That's I was sort of thinking the same way.
Because I've seen guys that have accomplished a lot more than Slayton get kind of screwed over by the franchise that they've been dedicated to for a decade or whatever the case may be. I think they see, like you said, the potential in him and that downfield, stretching the defense, taking a top off the defense type of a receiver. Slayton has been that guy. Has he been considerably, like comparably to other top deep threat receivers in the league? Probably not. But the offense that we've ran and the protection that Daniel Jones has had kind of hasn't really allowed that to happen. I think adding Darren Waller, securing that offensive lineup, and having Daniel Jones being a little bit more secure in the pocket will kind of help alleviate those worries. And maybe we will get those downfield throws this year. And I think Slayton will be probably that number one candidate to do that. Because you got to remember, when Darren Waller's on that field, when it comes to third down, you better know where he's at. You're going to have one of your better defenders on him if he's not doubled. Now, that will definitely open up some spots on the outside for guys to make some plays. And Slayton being the deep threat guy for the Giants, I think the addition from Waller and securing Saquon Barkley, you got to keep 8 in the box for, at least first and second downs. That would definitely keep, his opportunities open on the outside. And, with that type of money given him and, basically guarantee him $5 million, they're going to get Slayton the ball, guys. That's just what it is, and I think the Giants, they released Kenny Golladay, and, I think we expected so much from him, and I think the Giants are going to expect a lot from Slayton. And with this money coming on, he's one of the highest paid receivers, if not the highest paid receiver on the New York Giants. Is it deservedly so? I think he has a chance to prove that, and the proof will be in the pudding. We'll see. I was a Slayton fan. I think this year he was up and down consistency wise, but he still was that deep threat receiver. He had over 700 yards receiving this year. Some fantastic catch and run plays. I'm thinking of that Houston Texans plays right now, which is, we don't really have another guy like that can do that. Maybe Wan'Dale Robinson, but we didn't really see too much from him, so he's definitely going to provide that, that over the top type of, concern for people. He doesn't really scare me, but maybe he can scare some people this year.
And I think, sorry, go ahead, Randy.
No, I was about to say, and there's two things that JC said I have to react to. The first one is Wan'Dale Robinson has to stay on the field and stay healthy. That he missed the beginning part of the season with injuries, played a few games. Once he started getting his mojo going, got hurt again. And then he was out for the year. The other part with Slayton, I think what's going to help him tremendously is the focus won't be all on him. And I think that's going to be you'll be able to get more reps to him on the field because he's not going to be the main focus because they're going to have other weapons. And I think that's going to be really the key for that. Daniel has a good chemistry with Slayton to the point where as long as he has protection, he'll find him down the field. That's the beautiful part of what we're seeing right now. What they're doing is they're finding a way to get him weapons that's going to be able to help him. Now, I'm going to transition just from that point real quick because we talked about giving time. He just lost Joe Feliciano to San Francisco 49ers, which, again, not a terrible loss, but it's a guy who's built up a rapport not only with Daniel, but with the rest of these guys on the offensive line. Something like that can hurt that. Now they have to be able to find a replacement, whether it's going to be in the draft or it's going to be free agency, or you're going to find it, somehow find somebody in camp that's going to be able to fill that spot. JC, how important is a loss of Feliciano to the Giants right now?
Well, you also couple that with them losing Nick Gates to the Commanders not too long ago, so those are two guys that I think we all had kind of penciled in as coming back and kind of the tougher guys in the interior line of the New York Football Giants offensive line. We've talked a lot about Nick Gates. I think that was one guy that we spoke about last time, and him overcoming so much. And, you know, a guy like that, you want on the front line with you know what I mean? And then Feliciano, he definitely has some experience and he played well this year. I think if I'm not mistaken, he was a Pro Bowl alternate. So he definitely did his thing this year. The Giants will miss him. But I think, look, I'm not going to question Joe Shane. You know, I think he has pulled out, you know, the Waller trade was like, wow, like, you know, he's capable of doing many things, you know. So I'm definitely going to be relying on him to see if he can, you know, fix that, because the Giants offensive line has been a needle in their side for so long. You know, it's been a very, very long time, over a decade, where they had consistency at the offensive line for more than 1 year. You know, so the Giants definitely have to focus on that. History is not on their side, but the culture of the Giants, and when the Giants win, it's a strong defense led by a really tough, really good, gritty quarterback and a really solid offensive line that can not only pass protect, but that can push the pile forward so they can get good rushing yards with a great running back. So the only thing they're really missing out on is that offensive line. So the Giants got to definitely do some work in the draft and possibly free agency, and maybe somebody they pull in for training camp, you know. We got to see, man.
I have the feeling it's going to be both, right? I have the feeling that they're going to bring in a veteran at center specifically, because I think we're okay on depth with guards. We've got Bredesen, we've got Glowinski, we've got Azedu, we've got Shane Lemieux. I mean, there's guys that we can add guards through the draft as well in the later rounds. I think center is definitely something that we should consider for first or second pick, depending on what the talent looks like. There are a number of solid centers in this year's draft that we could kind of lean on. I don't think they're going to bet the farm on the center position on a rookie that they're just bringing in. So I can see Shane making a play for a veteran on a 1 year deal to see how it all goes. I mean, in essence, that's what we did with Feliciano, and it ended up working out okay for the year. So I see that as a solvable problem, right? It's a position that we can fix, and we don't have to have an number one guy right off the bat. We don't have to have one on staff now. We can get somebody that we know we're going to pencil in and have starting on day one in the draft, or we can have that person back up someone that we know is an established center in the league that's, you know, maybe towards the end of his career, but has another year or two left in him.
My question to you guys: how bad is the loss of Julian Love? That one stung a little bit. I feel. Here's my perception of it, because the Giants did make an offer. From what I understand, the money was more than what Seattle was offering. But I think there might have been Julian Love felt a little bit of disrespect, because here we are before free agency starts, and we're talking about signing your own guys, and the focus is on Saquon, the focus is on Daniel, the focus is on extending, Dexter. We're talking about some of these other guys. You know, Julian Love was the rock last year. He was a solid rock for this organization and for that defense. It might be he felt a little sign of disrespect in that sense.
Possibly so, you know, and I agree with you. He was the rock. You know, when Xavier McKinney went down, the defense, you know, it was a little bit of a drop off, but he was able to basically, you know, take hold of Xavier McKinney's position, which is not an easy position to play, that free safety position that actually calls the defense. You know, if people didn't know, he had the green dot on his head, meaning he's getting the calls in from the defensive coordinator. You know, so that's not an easy thing to do, guys. Like, I've done that before, and it was definitely chaotic. You know, definitely the first time I did it was chaotic. You know, so Julian Love was able to take over and, you know, provide a lot of relief. He made a lot of plays this year, you know, and he was definitely a leader, consistent leader throughout the year, being durable. You know, when the season was going up and down, you know, Giants had a nice 6-2 start, and then they lost 4 out of 5 games, 6 games, whatever the case was. You know, Julian Love stayed true. You know, he had I think one bad play against the Philadelphia Eagles that I know he wants back, you know, but besides that, man, I feel like he had a tremendous year, and he is a tremendous player, you know, and Seattle got him a good one. They got themselves a good one. I think he's going to be a good player for them, you know, and that, I think that opens up the opportunities for some of the younger guys. You know, what's his name? Oh gosh, Belton, Dane Belton. I was going to say Shelton. Dane Belton. I think he had a couple glimpses. We had a couple big plays, interceptions this year, you know, but then also Landon Collins. when he got signed and he played against that Minnesota team and was able to, knock that ball away from Hawkinson on the sideline. One of the greatest plays, I think, defensively we've seen all year from the New York Giants. So, look, they have capable players. Do they replace a Love with another Love? No. But can you replace a Love with a Landon Collins, Dane Belton, and other guys that can actually play that position? I think that the Giants do have some guys there that can play, but then also you can definitely get a solid DB in the first couple of rounds of the draft. First, second, or third rounds of the draft, you can get you a quality DB that's coming ready to play. These DBs and wide receivers coming out of a lot of these big time schools, they're coming in with tremendous footwork, tremendous speed and explosiveness. Their bodies are ready because they've been training since they were 11, 12 years old. The only thing they got to do is catch up to the mental part. So I don't look too far for the Giants. I think they'll be able to handle this either in-house or through the draft. Maybe not through free agency, but I think in-house or in the draft, they could be able to handle that safety situation.
Yep. Totally agree.
Go ahead, Ryan. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, and I hope this doesn't derail things, but I find myself being really curious what it's like to have that green dot on your helmet, right? What do you get from the defensive coordinators, and how much freedom do you have to call wrinkles? Like if you see a particular thing on the offensive side of things, if they shift around a little bit, if they call an audible, what comes in from the defensive sidelines, and what ability do you as the signal caller have to change things around?
Well, number one, it all depends. Me playing linebacker, I've had it several times, but I never really was a middle linebacker. I was more of an outsider. It's usually the middle linebacker that has that green dot on his helmet. And the times I've had it, basically they get that call in and they got to stop the communication 15 seconds right before that play. The clock goes down to 15, so in those first, 25, 20 seconds or so, there's a lot of talking going back and forth, especially situationally. Of course they get that call out, but then they definitely talk about situationally. Like, let's say it's like, I don't know, a 2nd and 9, you know what I mean? And they're backed up, like screen and draw, like, you know what I mean? Like common stuff that you would normally kind of communicate during practice and everybody's yelling it, that go through the middle linebacker, from the defensive coordinator to the middle linebacker, but then as the signal caller, you have to compartmentalize what you're doing on the field to what you're hearing, because you still have to align yourself and get into the right position and be able to call this defense out without, putting yourself in a bad position, like, because you may be able to, you might have to tell a defensive line a stunt, and the coach is still talking in your ear. You know what I mean? So there's a lot that goes into it, but the more and more you do it, the more and more repetitions that you have at it, the better you'll be. So look to see a lot of different guys with dots on their helmets during training camp. I don't think there's a cap to how many green dot helmets you can have during training camp. So I know in the game, it's only one per offense or defense in the game at one time. And I think defensively throughout the offseason, they're going to do a good job in training these guys up. I don't know if it's going to be Xavier McKinney, whoever else is playing that safety position, or if they're going to actually let a linebacker call it, this time around, so we'll see. I don't know if they did the safety position for the green dot this year because of the lack of experience or, the turnover at linebacker.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And the familiarity that Xavier McKinney had, or if that's just what, Wink Martindale does, he just lets his free safety call the defense, so we'll see what happens. It's definitely something that's not built for everyone. You have to be a very cerebral player to be able to call a defense and actually get your assignment done, see down and distance, see personnel. It's a lot that go into every play. And now calling the defense, that's just another, thing that you got to, prepare for.
Who calls the base defense? Who calls whether it's going to be a cover 0 or a, cover 2 or
well, the linebackers usually call the front. So you always set the front either to the tight end, away from the tight end. If there's no tight end, you set it to the strength or weak, right? And then usually there's a DB calling coverage, but now Xavier McKinney, he's getting out the front. So when he lines up, 12 to 17 yards deep, playing cover 2 or cover 3 or cover 4 or cover 6 or one of the coverages that they're playing, he's not going to be able to get the front lined up, and he's not going to be able to shift the line if something happens. That falls on the linebackers, so definitely, the linebackers have to do their part, because the linebackers are fully in charge of that defensive line, especially on run situations. A lot of times on passing situations, the D line kind of have free roam to do their own stunts, and, kind of communicate that with themselves, and the linebackers know that, and they kind of just sit back in coverage or whatever the case is.
Do the coaches call personnel packages like 2 linebackers, 3 linebackers?
No, they don't do it like that. We like throughout the week, you're practicing against this scout team, and you're running off and running guys in and out of their personnel offensively, and you're matching up against them throughout the week. So if they have 11 personnel, which is 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 running back, and you're probably all week, you've probably been playing dime and nickel coverage to it, then you know that, man, they're bringing in 3 receivers. We're probably going to go dime here. Third down. What's our third down package this week? Oh, we're running a lot more dime because we're blitzing, whatever weak side, or we're sending the corner blitz, right? Something like that. So it's always kind of in the game plan, unless, the offensively they throw some type of wrinkle in, but it's been practice, all week. Of course, you definitely see new stuff during the games, you know what I mean? But everything that they see, as in formation wise, usually it's ran during the week. Teams like to throw in some new wrinkles every now and again, but personnels are pretty set on what they're going to do personnel wise, but then let's say there's a transaction that happens and they bring in, Hawkinson, right? Hawkinson got traded in the middle of the season. Better believe when he went to the Vikings from Detroit, that the Vikings said, okay, we got another tight end package that we're going to add to this offense, so those are the things that you got to be aware of during the season, because things change week in and week out. Injuries happen and stuff like that.
I love it. I thought it was way more prescribed. Like they would call a nickel, a nickel coverage. Maybe I played too much Madden, right?
Yeah, but you can't call your defense until you know what the offense is doing. So if the offense is on first, second down, they got 12 personnel and they got 2 slug tight ends that are blocking, then you're going to match up against basically like a run type of defense. You're probably not going to have nickel in. But let's say they bring in that Waller type of guy. You know what I mean? Now you got 11 personnel with Waller in there. That's a 3 receiver. That's a 4 receiver set with Waller in there. So you're going to match up nickel against that guy. You know what I mean? So it's determined on, it's week to week, it's determined on who you're playing, personnel, who they got in, and what they like to do. You can't just go all the defense before you know what they're doing.
Yeah, for sure. Man, God damn it, I love this game.
I wanted to ask, just to go back with some of the offseason transactions and stuff that's not happened yet. Should we be surprised that Leonard Williams hasn't been restructured yet?
Nah, I don't like. They have to get that done.
Yeah,
like that's
that's a big one.
That you got to pay that man $32 million. I think that's the case he's supposed to be getting.
Yeah,
is that all salary? Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't mind you paying him 32, but you can't give him that in salary. Like, you can't do that.
I will pull up the salary breakdown and hold on a second. I will do that right now.
Yeah, while you're doing that, it feels like they went in-house, then they focused outside, and now they've got to bring it back in, right?
Inside.
I mean, so now we've got to talk about, all right, well, how much do we have left now that we've done a lot of these outside bringing people in, like Campbell, like Waller and all those folks, and we restructured Waller's deal, so we got another $7+ million out of him. But now it's time. Okay, let's see what we've got with the cap. Let's see what we need to sign guys like Landon Collins. They haven't done that yet, which is making me a little nervous. To restructure Williams, to do Leonard's deal, all this other stuff that needs to happen in-house. I feel like we kind of need to get on the horse and get some of those pieces locked in so that we know what our strategy is going to be come draft day. And listen, now that I'm saying it, I'm thinking that maybe they've got the wheels turning, that they don't want to give away as much of their draft strategy by having those pieces put in place. But I don't know. I don't know if there's that much brinksmanship and that much gamesmanship that goes into your draft selections,
Well, I do have the breakdown right now in front of me. So it's not all base salary, thank God. It's 18 million base salary, 7.5 signing bonus. And then the restructure bonus is a 6.7. And if they decide to cut, dead cap is 20.2.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna do that.
No, I don't think they're gonna do that. They ain't gonna cut it, but that dead cap, that dead cap number is very scary.
And that $18 million salary number is insane too, because he's due 32, right? If that's the number,
that's
right?
That's the 32.2.
Yeah. Number one, you can't pay him all that money, no matter how you break it down. You know what I mean? Like, I don't mind them getting paid that. I just don't think the Giants can do that. Like,
Yeah.
I think Leonard Williams, being a year he's in, and, he's had all, played all this time. And of course he missed some time last year. He deserves it. But the Giants, it ain't about him, nobody deserving it now. We're thinking about the best moves for the Giants. And that is not a good move to basically pay anybody else besides Daniel Jones that much money.
Well, I have a bigger problem for you. You ready for this one? Adoree Jackson's base salary is $11 million with a 4.5 signing bonus, and another 2.9 for a restructure bonus.
That's not bad though. You pay your top corners, you got to pay them $12 million. Rabbit was getting $12-13 million.
Yeah, but in the situation that they're in right now, I'm looking at the salaries up and down, up and down, up and down, and then I started looking at next year where we are with everything. I know we're one day at a time, one season at a time in the NFL. I understand that and where we are, but man, like
we're going to have to be creative. There's going to need to be some creativity next year when it comes to cap. I mean, Daniel's cap hits 45 next year.
Yeah,
so we're going to have to do something about that. And I know we're kicking it down the curb. We'll deal with it later. But at the end of the day, we are going to have to do something with him in exactly the same way that we have to do something with Leonard Williams now. We can't cut him. We can't take a $20 million dead cap hit. Joe Schoen hates dead cap money, and I can't blame him for that. So we're going to have to do something where we retain the talent. I think everybody recognizes that that's a good idea. But how do we do it so that we're not killing ourselves in the years to come as well, right? I can't imagine Leonard Williams is going to be super happy about a pay cut. You know what I mean? If he's due $32 million, he's going to want his $32 million at some point. You know what I mean?
Well, and not only that, but Dexter Lawrence needs a new deal now too. And so you have
going to be a big one.
Yeah, he $45 million for Daniel, and then you have to find a way to get Dexter. And this is the last year of Leonard's deal. So if you want to try and get him, you're obviously you have to try and.
Well, the good thing about Dexter Lawrence, they're going to do it similar to what they did to Daniel Jones this year. His cap hit is not going to be crazy next year. He's going to get a nice, huge signing bonus that they can, of course, break that down, prorate it, and kick it down the road. So his base salary will be probably similar to what Daniel Jones getting this year, is about like $8 million, something like that. Am I wrong?
I think that's about right.
Something like that, right?
That's right.
Yeah, so I think that's what they're going to do. That's the good thing about Dexter Lawrence. But then in 2025, that's when it's probably going to be another $30 million, cap hit.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But that's way down the road, Randy. I know you like to look down the road. That's a little far down the road right there, though.
But JC, in 2027, no, I'm just kidding.
Right?
Listen, I think so far, if you have to summarize what the Giants have done so far this offseason, definitely an A. So far, I think they're winning the offseason. Yeah. I think what they're doing is they're addressing their major needs right now, which is getting Daniel some help. They still have work to do on the offensive line, and in certain parts of the defense, they have some work to do. But you have Wink coming back, you have Kafka coming back, and that's
huge.
And they're upgrading some of the positions that needed upgrades, where you had guys playing above their talent level. You're getting some of those guys, some players with talent in those spots. And creating depth, by the way.
For sure. I mean, some of this, there's risk associated with all of it, right? I mean, we're talking about bringing a guy in, Waller, that has had some injury concerns. Paris Campbell had some injury concerns, right? And we're putting them on a field that has, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, almost double the number of ACL tears as any other team in the league. Right?
They put that new turf in. I just saw that not too long ago.
So when is that going in time for this next season?
I think they were doing it already. Like they're doing it now.
So that'll help.
Ripping it up now. Man, let's be honest about this. Fingers crossed. Yeah. Let's be honest about this. The number one reason why people don't pan out in the NFL, the number one reason is injuries.
Yeah,
that's the number one reason. Because if you get to the NFL, most guys deserve to play there. They didn't, you know why? Because it's not like, and I learned this as I retired. I learned that football, all the guys that are playing in the NFL, like 99% of those guys deserve, because they've been prodded and tested since they were children.
They're like astronauts. Right?
You know what I mean? Through high school, all through college, combine, pro day stuff, interviews. They just tear you apart, break you down. So if you get to the league, you deserve to be there. Yep. Now I'm in business now, and I'm meeting people that are so-called professionals, and it's like, I don't even know what I'm doing, and I'm better at this thing.
Right.
You're not going to find that in the NFL. You know what I mean? That's the great thing about that, but segue in what we were talking about just now in terms of the New York Giants. I think look, I've been talking so highly of Joe Shane because he's been making so many great moves.
Yep.
And I agree, Randy. I think the Giants are really killing free agency right now. And the three main things, the points that I think that the Giants needed to go after in free agency, they are checking all those boxes.
Yep.
The second point being depth, they're still working on that now. But the top 3 points were, number one, you got to sign Daniel Jones. You got to figure this out. You got to get a nice team-friendly deal and keep your quarterback, right? The second wasn't Saquon. It was getting depth. The Giants' overall roster had to get better. And number 3, it was Saquon. And they did all those 3, and they're still working on number 2. That's a kind of, ongoing thing. The reason why the Giants have to improve their roster tremendously, I think it's evident when you watch special teams. Special teams this year was a down year for the New York Giants. And honestly, it's been like that for a while. And I think they have a good special teams coach. But if you got guys that are at the bottom of the roster that are not even capable of playing special teams at a high level, then you don't have a talented roster. Mm-hmm. The Giants last year, they were top end heavy in terms of talent. And, defensively, they had a couple really good young players, but then there was, I think, a drop off. Coaching was so prevalent for the Giants last year. That's why Daboll won Coach of the Year, because of the lack of talent that the Giants had. Now the Giants are signing, Paris Campbell. They're signing the kid from the Jets, the Smith kid. They're doing their thing. They're not just signing starters. They're signing backups that'll be very formidable special teams players.
I can't wait.
Exactly what the Giants
do. Yeah,
and I can't wait to see camp. I can't wait to see camp. All these guys who can come out. And
T-Mac is a great special teams coach.
Yep.
He is a great special teams coach. And he was able to get, like I said, things out of those guys that they probably never would be able to do, but sometimes it's just not good enough.
And he talks about this. He said every week is like gumbo. I don't know what I got. And then when I feel like I get what I need on Sunday and I just throw it in the pot and see what I got, that's not okay. You know what I mean? Like, you need to be prepping your food all week, guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't just go out there and just say, this is what we got.
Right.
That's not him though. The special teams coach have really no say in the guys that he get to play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that kind of sucks. But at the same time, like he said, you got to make gumbo when you got stuff, whatever you got, all kind of stuff, all kind of players, that play all type of positions. You got to make gumbo, and their gumbo hasn't been that good. It hasn't been that good lately.
There's corn in the gumbo.
Yeah.
I mean, and I know my gumbo. Not only did I
you lived in
New Orleans, they had some great gumbo down there, boy. Let me tell you, man.
I gotta ask this question too. We're looking around. We're talking about extensions and options, and Andrew Thomas, Xavier McKinney. Their times are coming up as well.
You just want to look down the road,
right?
Don't you?
So he does.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why I have to bring it up. It's because you have to make decisions now on the 5th-year options, and you have to make decisions on, if you're not going to, you're gonna have these guys sing for their supper, just like Daniel had to sing for his supper, just like Saquon had to sing for his supper. So these are decisions that have to be made.
I don't think they're gonna do that with Andrew Thomas.
You think they're gonna lock him up?
I think I think they're going to figure out that deal. What year is Andrew Thomas in? This is his 3rd year or 4th year?
This is 4th year.
This is going into his 4th year?
Yep.
So they have to make a decision now to do that 5th-year option, right?
Correct.
Right. I think if they're going to keep him, they're either going to re-sign him or do the 5th. They're not going to not do the 5th-year option.
Oh, no.
No. They're taking that 5th-year option.
Or they're going to do the 5th-year option, because the 5th-year option will probably give them a little bit of space. I don't know that number, but it's probably going to be a little bit smaller than the hit that if he gets a big deal. Because you got to think, left tackles are very highly paid positions.
For sure.
And I saw some centers this offseason get $100 million.
Yeah.
So don't think Daniel Jones is going to be the only $100 million man on the Giants. Andrew Thomas is the next guy. Dexter Lawrence might be pushing that too.
Well, and the reason why I think we're thinking about it now for down the road is that it's cheaper now. it's cheaper if we sign him up now than if we wait
Yeah.
for another year or two, right?
Yeah.
Because
And he
they're
has
gonna,
another all-pro type of season. Oh,
right?
man.
I mean, come on, and not for nothing, but every year, a new bar gets set. Every year, salaries go up.
Right.
And so if we're able to lock in now, knowing that we're going to get the kind of production that we're expecting out of him, God would, right? Then it does make sense to try and do it now. But we've only got so much money to play with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And now, I guess that's the balancing act that Shane has to play, right? We know it's going to be cheaper if we do it long term now. We'd love to sign these guys long term. We'd love to have them for Giants forever. But we have to secure this year's team first, right? We've still got some free agents that we've got to sign. We've still got a draft class that we have to sign. There's all this stuff that we need to do to make this season work before we can really start pushing it out to the years down.
We haven't spoke about the couple guys that they signed defensively this offseason.
The corner, right?
The Okereke and Nacho.
Okereke.
Yeah.
Nacho! I'm so excited to see Nacho.
I saw him, big old smile on his face in the building with his family. And then I walked right past Okereke. I didn't even know it was him. I walked right past him, and then he went to the media room. I said, man, that was Okereke, wasn't it? They said, yeah. I said, damn it, I missed him. I just wanted to say what's up to him, because, playing linebacker for the New York Giants, and I think they signed a stud. Yeah. When I watched the Giants play against the Colts, that was a great game. Of course, the Giants won that game. He was all over the field, bro. And he's one of those linebackers. He's not a 4-down. Excuse me. He's not a 3-down linebacker. He's a 4-down linebacker. If they wanted to play him on special teams, he'll be a prime time special teams candidate. Yeah. Even though you pay him $40 million, $22 million guaranteed, he's not playing on special teams. That's for sure. But he's that good of a player. He's that versatile as a player. He can play inside the tackle box. He got his hands on balls this year. And that's the thing I tell guys, pause, but you got to get your hands on those footballs. That'll get you paid. Yeah. And that's exactly what happened to Okereke. He got his hand. He made some turnovers this year. He was in the backfield a lot, made a lot of tackles in the last 2 years, so he deserving that money. And let's hope he is the linebacker that the Giants been needed for a very long time. Even before I got there, I was decent, but the Giants needed a solid linebacker for a very long time, guys. Yeah. And I remember when John Beeson signed. I saw John Beeson signed. Yeah. I was in Tampa when he signed. And I was like, man, that's a great signing. John Beeson couldn't stay healthy, And even when I got there, I was playing outside linebacker. They put me in middle linebacker, and we were still searching. We had Wani Unga starting middle linebacker against Dallas Cowboys, bro. I love Wani. All his kids' name is Wani Younger. His dad's name is Wani Younger. His brother's name is Wani Younger. His uncle's name is Wani Younger. His grandfather's name is Wani Younger. One of the greatest stories I've ever heard. I was like, seriously, bro? He's like, yeah, man. Everybody's named Wani Younger. But he played. Do you even know one of the Wani Youngers, guys?
all I know, I have to take exception with one thing you said. I get my hands on my balls all the time, and nobody's paying me. So I'm just going to put that out there.
Hey, but it feel good, don't it?
You do what you got to do. It's been a while.
And by the way, I had to bring up one point. You said how hard it is just to even get to the combine. I've been to the combine. I had a great seat. So that's all I had.
Nice.
That's all I had to say about it. Hey, JC, this is the fun time of year for football fans because obviously the NFL offseason became a very, very hot topic, and it's all hands on deck. And we always hear rumors and who's going to go where. And the DeAndre Hopkins rumors don't seem to want to go away for the New York Giants. Where do you see this? Like, if you had to choose between what you're getting right now with the Giants, like, is it enough? Odell Beckham, are we looking at that way? Are you DeAndre Hopkins? What's your take? I got to get your and Ryan your thought process too.
What's your Hopkins? Take? Hopkins was suspended last year, right? So he's healthy, right? Hopkins.
I thought he was hurt.
He was hurt too. I thought he was suspended. Suspended. Was that the year before?
I think that was the year before.
I thought he played a full season, but I could be wrong.
Last year, he didn't play the full season.
Let me take a look.
Can you find that out, Randy?
I am on it right now.
I got to make a point on that. So let's find that out first. I might be a year behind with the whole suspension deal. Excuse me.
Make the point, and if you're wrong, we'll edit it out. That's fine.
Well, Odell is not the kid that, that was making one-hand catches back in 2014 and, taking slants to the crib in 16 and 17. He's not that guy. He's coming off of 2 traumatic injuries to his same ACL, and yes, he's put on some weight. Yes, he looks good, but there's nobody around Odell. Right. You never make a roster. What they call it in your underwear, that's out there when you're running routes on air. It just never happens. So yes, Odell's healthy. Yes, Odell looks good. He always looks good. But can he stay healthy? And I think the market is saying a lot to him. I think the market is saying, we're not going to give you what you're asking for, bro. Like, you got to take this $4 million or whatever the case is. I think that's the number that he turned down already. And I think there was speculation out there that he was asking for 20. And he was like, I'm not asking for 20, but I'm not going to take 4.
Right.
And I'm looking like, you might have to take 4, Odell. And it's not about, is he better than anybody else? It's not about none of that. It's about, bro, what have you done lately?
Sure.
And you came back and played well. My bad, Ryan.
No, yeah.
Of course you came back and played well, but you came back from an injury.
Yeah.
Now you missed the whole entire season. He's not a young kid that's fighting nets no more.
Well, that's
a
part of it.
30-year-old father now.
Well, that's part of it.
He's
too.
a different guy.
And that's part of it now too, JC, because look, at the end of the day, that position, you need to have young, fresh legs to be considered a number one. And if you're going to ask for that money that Odell is asking for, you have to be a number one receiver. They're not paying $20 million, $15 million a year for a number 2, number 3 receiver.
For a savvy possession guy.
Yeah, but he said he's not asking for that. I think he'll take double 4. I think he'll take 8. And if there's a team out there that can give him 8, I think he'll take that. And look, I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it, but at the end of the day, like, bro, like, I love Odell to death, but like, you can't get around what happened to you. You can't get around that, and it sucks because we talked about this with Daniel Jones. It's all about timing. If Odell didn't get hurt in the Super Bowl, first of all, Odell would have tore up the season last year, playing with probably a $20 million signing bonus. You know what I mean? Going into his second year into his contract, making, $15, $16 million this year. But he got hurt. Yeah. The timing wasn't in his favor this time around.
Yep. And not for nothing, but there are teams out there that need the kind of receiver that he can be. Right. There are teams out there that would love to have an Odell Beckham, even at his age, with a repaired knee a couple of times over. Right. He does provide a level of skill. He would be a solid, savvy receiver that runs good routes, that can, make solid catches, be a good possession receiver. I don't see that that's what the Giants need. No. Right. I don't see that he fits the needs of this particular squad. And you can say the same thing for DeAndre Hopkins. Sorry, Jason, let me just
go ahead.
Quick. I could say the same thing about DeAndre Hopkins. Fantastic receiver in his own right for the kind of scheme that would suit his capability. But the coaches have already said for the Giants, we need speedsters. We need people that can blow the top off of a defense. And I don't know that either of these two guys are that dude, especially for the kind of money that especially DeAndre Hopkins. Hopkins would be. Yeah. I mean, we would have to pay him a ton of dough, and we just don't have that kind of money. We locked it up in too many other people.
And I have the info you guys need right now. So
real quick, Randy, don't be surprised if the Giants don't add another receiver unless they're bringing guys in from the draft. Yeah. Don't be surprised. They already brought in 3 guys.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
New guys, let alone, remember, Sterling got re-signed, Slayton got re-signed.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And then they brought in another 3. Got Wandale there still. Like, they got guys. So don't look at nobody else coming in that receiver room, guys.
I can't wait for camp.
Hey, I'm gonna go to training camp this year, bro.
Nice.
Training camp, mini camp, OTAs.
I wasn't trying to go on my scooter last year.
Yo, man,
man.
And I'm sorry, before we talk about the finish off the Hopkins stuff, because I got the information. I want to tell you the day that JC came to camp, and we left the media session with in the beginning, and he came out. Dable did a double take when he saw JC on the scooter. He just went, and then he went
like,
right.
He probably was like, "Which one of my players is hurt?"
He just looked at him, and then all of a sudden you heard somebody say, "Watch out, Dable's going to ask for one of those." so
rascal.
You little rascal. So listen, here's the update on Hopkins. In 2021, in week 14, he suffered a torn MCL and was placed on injury reserve on December 18th of 2021. He finished the season with 42 catches, 572 yards, and 8 touchdowns in 10 games. He was ranked 37th by his fellow players in the NFL top 100 players of 2022. And in 2022, the NFL announced that Hopkins would be suspended for the first 6 games of the season for the violation for the league's performance-enhancing drug policy. Yep. And he returned in week 7, had 103 yards in the 42-34 victory over the Saints. He finished with 64 receptions, 717 yards receiving yards, and 3 receiving touchdowns. So
fantastic receiver. I mean, there's no doubt he's going to earn his money, whoever pays him. I just don't think it should be the Giants because I don't think he's who we need, and I don't think we can afford him.
Yeah, I think that at this point too, and this is something that we already have with Slayton, what I'm about to say, but I remember
he froze.
I'm right here.
Randy, repeat what you just said. You were frozen for about 5 seconds.
Okay. I said one thing too that I keep in mind when I think of receivers and quarterbacks and building that rapport. I think back to Eli Manning for the length of time he was here, with guys like Toomer and guys like Plaxico and Victor Cruz and Akeem Nicks. Guys like Nicks and Cruz, Eli put them on the map. It would probably be easier for Daniel to get his guys and put guys on the map than it would be to go out and get somebody else who was put on the map by somebody else who has a high salary number. I rather see homegrown guys get built so therefore you can control the salary, and also they're your guys.
I think that's why we've got Paris Campbell on the staff now, right? It's because he's somebody that can grow with Daniel, a la Isaiah Hodgins, right? They've already started working together.
Yeah. He signed. He said
5 minutes later he was in the
literally he told us during the media session. He's like, I literally signed my contract at like 12:01. By 12:06, Daniel already texted and say, hey, we're practicing out here. Come on out over here.
That's right. Come on out. I love it.
Yes,
I guess that's the whole thing. I mean, we were talking a couple of weeks back about potentially getting a guy that's younger, that shows some brilliance in his game, that Daniel can turn into a number 1 receiver. And I think that's what they have in mind for a guy like Paris Campbell.
And also too, guys, I have to also bring this one point up. And like, we're in March 22nd. In a couple of weeks, we're going to start talking about OTAs and voluntary workouts and stuff like that. Going into the off-season training program last season, there was a lot of questions. There was the Galladay question. There was the Kadarius Toney question. There was a lot of what ifs, the 5th-year option questions, all those different things that were going on. This year's off-season program has a lot more excitement and a lot more intrigue in a positive way, with a lot less questions than there is. Yeah, what can we build? How are we building not just for 2023, and as we've talked about on this podcast so far today, 2024, 2025, etc. But at the same time, the overall feeling of positivity going into the season, much different than the questions you had going into 2022. So I just wanted to just throw that out there. We haven't hit the draft yet, but now, like the voluntary workouts start in a week or 2, JC? I think that's like it's something like that.
Early April.
Very soon.
Very soon. So we're gonna be like, the media is gonna be down there. We're gonna be following what's going on. And look, at the end of the day, this team, and I'm sorry for bringing this up, JC. I'm so sorry. But when an expectation level gets put on this franchise at times, this organization has a hard time living up to it during the season. We saw it in 2017. People picked the Giants to be a Super Bowl contender, and look what happened. Years ago, to 2012, same thing. They're repeating the same thing after they won the Super Bowl 2007. I know Plaxico shot himself in the leg, and that derailed our season. But we were picked to go back there. When an expectation level has been set on this franchise, the team has struggled. So go ahead, Ryan. Go.
We've got to be careful about apples and oranges, right?
There are
there were coaching changes that happened, right? 2017 with Benny with the good
They had a
hair.
whole
They had a
turnover.
whole, yeah,
Nobody's there
thing.
but what, Sterling?
Right.
Yeah.
Who else? Nobody else.
That was it. And so, there are times when, it's hard to repeat, right? A repeat is definitely very, very difficult.
Right.
But I think what we're talking about now is building upon a successful season, right? And an ability to do so with a coaching staff that has people's faith, a front office that has the faith of the players, has other players around the league wanting to come to the Giants to play for them because they've seen that we've kind of got something going on here. And I don't know. You can say you can't say it's just one thing, right? It's not just coaching. Right. Coaching was a huge part of it, but we had some playmakers. And so we've signed up those playmakers, and now we've got those playmakers coming back, and we're adding pieces to the puzzle. We're constantly adding in ways that, it doesn't actually expose us. This is a beautiful thing about a lot of the contracts Shane has done. Yep. He hasn't exposed us to massive, disgusting contracts the way that his predecessor did. Right. And so there are outs. Daniel signed a 4-year, $160 million contract. But he didn't really sign a $164 million deal. He signed a 2-year contract worth $80 million. Right. So at the end of the day, we're in a position where we're not hamstrung by contracts of the past. We're in a position where we are able to build on the structure that we've already had. There's belief in the coaching staff. There's belief in the front office. And there's belief around the league that this is a team on the rise. And if we're able to continue that momentum, keep focused on the putting in the pieces in year 2, adding those pieces, expanding the playbook, getting more creative with Kafka and Dable's systems, then we could really potentially have something pretty special on our hands, regardless of what the expectations are. I don't think Dable and the coaching staff are going to let the expectations get into the heads of the players, quite frankly.
Yeah, I agree with you. Look, the one thing that I'm for sure that they did this past year, they established culture. That's for sure.
Yes.
They did that. And culture hasn't really been around since Coughlin. Yeah. Since Tom Coughlin, and he had the culture, the 5 minutes early stuff, Dayball has this tough, gritty, we're going to fight you for 4+ quarters every single game. Everything get determined at practice, and he's bringing in guys that embody that, and I think, of course, signing a quarterback, signing Saquon, and then signing Darren Waller. Think of those 3 guys right there. That's some offensive firepower for your ass.
That's some juice right there.
Sprinkle in some Isaiah Hodgins and Wan'Dale Robinson and, other guys, Paris Campbell, Bellinger. The Giants offense is solid. You got to, secure that offensive line, especially their interior. You got to do that. And then defensively, continue to add depth. Get some good college kids coming out of college that are ready to play right now.
Yep.
Fast, strong, big, smart kids that can learn how to play defenses and play right away. And then everybody else, put them on special teams.
That's right.
Let them go, And, I think the Giants, they're right now, I think they're doing such a great job during this offseason. Fingers crossed that they have a lights out draft. I think they have 10 draft picks.
Yeah, they do.
Let's see if they move some of these draft picks around.
Yeah.
Let's see if they, trade some to move up, maybe even get, during the draft, maybe they don't get who they want or what they want and they make a big trade, right after the draft or after the 2nd and 3rd round.
Yeah.
So the possibilities are endless. And I think what Joe Shane has showed us that he can pull, a rabbit out of a hat. He can pull a rabbit out of a desk. You know what I mean?
They know
who came out of nowhere.
Yeah, for sure.
Out of nowhere. Everybody's what?
Yeah.
You talking about that dude that, came back from rehab and killed the league for a couple years? That guy? Yeah, that guy.
That dude.
And he was more surprised than anybody had. He's like, he goes, I got off the plane. I stopped over at the facility and they said, by the way, you're traded. I'm like, wait,
traded. You're going to New York. See you later. Yeah.
Hey, real quick, I got to ask this question before we wrap up. And it's not Giant related. It's about the tenants who share the building with the New York Football Giants, and that's the New York Jets with Aaron Rodgers. That situation. Yeah, that guy. That
pain around here.
That pain in the ass who says he is one of the top 2 players in Packers organization history, and that came out of his mouth.
Hey, he might not be lying though. He got 4 of them MVPs now.
A lot of MVPs. Yeah.
So I got to get your opinion first off, JC. as one professional from another, do you like that he went on the Pat McAfee show and sort of handled himself the way he did, like that, sort of airing the grievances, airing it all out, and like that? Do you
First
think?
of all, go ahead, finish asking. I'm sorry.
No, I was about to say, do you
jump in front of the question.
do you think that's the right way to handle that type of business?
You know what? Look, Aaron Rodgers has proven he's a individual. You know, he's not going to be what anybody says that he has to be. You know, and for a guy that's won 4 MVPs and won a Super Bowl, you know, you really can't tell him too much. You know, and I think he does make his guys better. I think people talked about him dragging his receivers in the beginning of the year, but them guys got better throughout the year, and I think that was because of him. You know, and he may not be the prototypical says everything right, you know, type of quarterback, but you can't doubt his greatness. You know, I don't think you could doubt his arm strength and his throwing ability, how he throws the ball, how he can create, and he's a winner. You know, he hasn't won too much in the playoffs, though. I think that's a huge knock. And look, and I've said this in past thoughts. The Green Bay Packers have to be the most underachieving franchise in a very long time.
Yeah.
How do you win 4 MVPs with a quarterback and only make it to the Super Bowl one time? Like, I'm not even talking about going against Tom Brady and losing. He only been once. He only made it out the NFC one time. Yeah, you got Drew Brees. You got a whole bunch of other guys that were there. But it wasn't like dominated on one side like it was for the AFC for years. You know, and then Tom Brady, of course, came to the NFC and then took another one from the NFC, you know. But I think the New York Jets should sign Aaron Rodgers because the guys that they have now, because didn't Mike White get signed? Didn't he get signed? The quarterback?
Yeah, he's out.
Yeah. He was the guy.
He was the guy.
It wasn't Wilson. He is the guy. He proved that. They need a guy at quarterback because they are tremendously talented, the Jets. Yeah. And we've been saying that for years. Their run game, no matter who you put in, they're running the ball. But then you got Breece Hall and what he did last year before he got hurt. He was having a tremendous rookie campaign. One of the better rookies, if not the best rookie last year. And then you got the Wilson receiver. Then you got Sauce Gardner.
Yeah.
They got guys.
Yep.
They got guys for the New York Jets. What they don't have is a quarterback.
And they were a quarterback away. That's what Randy was saying.
You put guys in the seats. You know, you put fans in the seats. The thing is, though, y'all know this. You better win, Aaron. You better win. And you better win now.
That's right.
Well,
you better play well early. And you better win early.
Well, that's the perfect example of a quarterback away from a championship, because I think that has been the Jets' MO for a long time, and not just the Jets. You know, it was one of the things that Ryan and I had been talking about. If for some reason the deal with Daniel wasn't able to work and get done, because you sit there saying, okay, well, the money, I would rather have taken that money and fill up everything you need to fill up as far as position players and get what you need, and then be the quarterback away. So you can always go out and
let me counter your point. I don't think they're a quarterback away. You know why? Because of the head coach. I think Saleh has had some issues with this team.
Yeah.
I think he lost this team.
I don't even think you have to think about that. There is when you have a situation that you had with Zach Wilson, where your players don't believe in him and they believe in the backup. So I'm sorry, let me just finish this point.
Yeah.
And you pull Zach Wilson out and you know, I'm sorry, the backup who is White gets hurt again. And you were already flirting with Flacco earlier in the year. I don't put Zach Wilson back out there. I hate to say it. I'd rather put Flacco back out there and just deal with whatever it is.
Listen, the wheels had come off by that point, right? Yeah. The wheels were off at that point. And I think the one thing that it does really exemplify is that a team is greater than the sum of its parts.
Yep.
Right. So it's not just about who you've got in there. It's how well do they gel? How to what degree do they want to play for each other? To what degree do they want to play for the coach? One of the things that made the Giants so successful early in the year wasn't the talent. It wasn't the fact that we had all the guys in those spots.
No,
they had belief. They had the juice, man. And so if that's the prime example of that team being more than the sum of its parts. So yes, it's going to be great for Jets fans to have a really solid, accomplished quarterback in their midst. But that's not going to be what wins them the championship. That quarterback, that great quarterback, and all those great players have to gel, and they have to want to play for each other, and they have to want to win that championship for each other.
Saleh has to do a better job. I don't know what he was thinking last year. But we saw the Jets. The Jets were just like the Giants last year, starting out really hot. I think they were 6-1.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not mistaken, maybe 7.
Yeah, I remember. Yep.
At one point. And then it went all downhill after that.
Yeah.
And the Giants had lost some games, and flirted to like not make the playoffs, and then they finished.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
It's all about finishing. And then they just met Goliath, in the Philadelphia Eagles. But the Jets didn't even get themselves a chance. Saleh lost the team last year.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you lose, you don't get it back. So no matter who plays quarterback, they're gonna put some fans in the stadium, and they might score a little more on offense. They might actually be pretty good, but they're not making no playoff run, guys. Not with no head coach.
Right.
No. Not with there's division inside the organization. That is not going to happen.
You'll know real quick.
Yeah, pretty soon.
The dynamic with as long as they can get the compensation thing taken care of.
But look at the division they're playing in too. Because you got the best coach in the world in Bill Belichick and the Patriots, who they're going to figure out Mac Jones. Whoever's playing, they're going to figure that out over there. You got the number 1 team, if not number 2 or 3 team in the AFC. They're number 1 last year in the Buffalo Bills. And you got Tua.
And the Dolphins.
If Tua cannot get another concussion and he can play, the Dolphins are good. Yep. They're really good. So
it's a competitive division.
The Jets have a tough division, just like the New York Giants do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And not only that, but you're also forgetting the most important thing of the whole entire thing is Aaron Rodgers has to help develop a culture there. We were talking about the Giants culture. The Jets culture there's nothing established there. So Aaron Rodgers has to go there and help establish that. And it may not happen in year 1.
Right.
This might have to be a 2-3 year project.
But he might not have no more time than that.
That's right. And
these New York fans.
And Saleh's leash is going to be shorter than Rodgers' leash is.
Leash short, boy.
Oh yeah.
That leash short. He basically on a dog back with that little leash.
Mm-hmm.
and then the only other we spoke last show about Derek Carr going to the Saints, Jimmy Garoppolo going to Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Man, the Brady returning rumor doesn't seem to want to go away either. So
really, I didn't hear that.
Oh no, there was a whole bunch of things going on that he's keeping an eye on what's going on in Miami. He's keeping an eye on what's going on.
Tom need to just go ahead and chill out.
That's what I'm talking about.
You're free. You're literally a free man.
That's right.
You have never been this in 20-something years, maybe 30 years.
Right.
You got to include college there too. You don't have that much free time in college. Bro, go golf.
Go get some fucking ice cream with your kids or something.
Bro, right. Go do TV 3 days a week. Get paid $250 million. Hang out with Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather. Bro, do some baller stuff now, bro.
Yeah.
No, not only that, not only is he free from the football obligations, but he is divorced and he is free from his wife.
I'm saying, go hang out.
Lives the life, man. Call me.
Show me where to hang out at, bro.
Oh my God. I literally now picture some tabloid like TMZ thing, and there's Brady, and then all of a sudden you see JC in the background going.
Yeah, with a big blunt in his mouth.
That's right.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
That's legal.
Guys, check out the Big Blue Report. We're going back every single week, and you ready for the season. Jonathan Casillas is going to be, of course, back in the booth. Big Daddy D is going to be making some appearances this year. We're looking forward to seeing him down at the facility. And keep following the show on all your social media platforms. We hope to have a really big announcement about the show coming up soon. I hope you guys are ready for that. And we're going to be doing some live shows as well. We're going to try and get some special guests involved. And we're going to be getting a lot of maybe some merch. There's some good things going on.
Merch.
Get some merch.
Love it.
Merch. Gotta love some merch. We got to get We got to get people to get Big Daddy D jerseys. That's like the big thing.
That's an idea. A little professor logo. Yeah.
A little professor logo, a little Big Daddy D jersey. I love that idea. I think it's a great idea. But guys, for Jonathan Casillas, I'm Randy Zellea. That's Ryan Darlington. We thank you so much for making us a part of your week talking Giants football. We will see you next time here on the Big Blue Report.